right. Well, let's get it cranked up talking Michigan football, and everybody can blame me. I'm the one that caused our delay. So pile it on me, and we will make up for it right now. TJ, let's start with you in regards to spring football, of course. We are looking ahead to a spring game on April 20th, so we're just about 2.5 weeks away from that. What are the good words coming out of Ann Arbor?
Yeah, so we're about 2 weeks into practice, and there's a lot of good coming out right now. We got the defense is dominating, which is to be expected early in the whole spring practice portion. They're a little bit ahead of the offense, but what's really throwing the offense off is a lot of blitz packages, which we can come to expect with Wink Martindale. But they're also doing a bunch of different stunts, and we have a new starting 5 offensive line, so they got to get used to each other, build chemistry. But I want to touch on some early risers right now, and a few names. Enau Etta, who's playing the 4-tech, 5-tech, which was previously the Chris Jenkins role. He's a name to look out for. Now, probably Rayshawn Benny is going to be the starter this season once he heals up from his injury. But Enau Etta is the name to watch. And another name to watch who's going to be the Sam linebacker position, possibly rush end, is TJ Guy. So both these guys are turning heads in camp. These are names to know. And then the linebacking core right now with Jay-Sean Barnum and Ernest Hausman are just tearing it up. I mean, all word from camp is that these two dudes just look heat-seeking missiles. I mean, they're just, they're tearing it up. They're looking promising. So we shouldn't see too much of a drop-off or potentially a step up from Junior Colson and Michael Barrett. And then I want to hit on our tight end too, Marlon Klein. So everyone knows about Colson Loveland, right? But Marlon Klein is a recruit out of Georgia we got previously from Germany. And he's our tallest tight end, our strongest tight end, and our fastest tight end. So they're saying he's turning heads in camp. He's looking good. And then there are some concerns we could talk about with camp, but I don't know if Ferris has any comments on more positivity he's hearing.
Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I didn't want to have background noise, and I muted there. So yeah, great to hear about the offensive line. We're certainly, it's just unprecedented. Potentially 11 players on offense that might get drafted, the entire line plus another player on top of that. So it's great to hear. In my analysis, basically it wasn't kind of the weakest link on offense, but it wasn't the strength either, in terms of the amount of production that was leaving. ESPN has a metric for that, production lost. I guess I want to try to do a little bit better than ESPN. So I created my own little metric. There'll be a video about it tomorrow. And it would be great. Maybe we could crowdsource this to a certain degree and kind of talk about kind of strengths and weaknesses. I would say kind of lukewarm. It's great to hear all of this from camp. From an analytics perspective, I would say, best offensive line 2 years in a row. Last year, maybe arguably the best offensive line. So maybe 3 years in a row. Is that going to happen, in the fall? I'm not sure that that's the case. So that's my comment there. Now, with Marlon Klein, second on the depth chart, it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. If that's a breakout, it's a breakout. It's a next man up kind of position. Tight end is super important. So that's going to be fantastic based on what you just said there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we run a lot of 2 tight end sets, and, we rotate our tight end. So I really think he's going to be a safety valve for whatever quarterback wins the competition this spring.
Okay. One other quick note, Jay-Sean Barnum, I projected that as one of the weaker links on defense because Junior Colson's going to be a high draft pick. And so that's also great to hear. So it seems like the areas where, in my analysis, there might be some weaknesses, maybe people are, we're having players that step up. So that's great.
Yeah.
So are we ready to flip to the negative?
Okay. So
Okay.
So there are some concerns in camp right now. You can contribute this to an elite defense. You can contribute to this to a new defensive coordinator, potentially giving the offense new looks, or a new offensive line who's still looking to gel and build chemistry. But the word out of camp right now is the quarterbacks have no time to read their progressions. They're not making their throws. It's looking concerning for the quarterback position at the moment. It's still early in camp. Orji looked more promising week 1 than week 2. So, and that's a big concern. The big question mark for Michigan is quarterback and wide receiver. There are no wide receivers standing out right now. They want, like, a lot of people are hoping Samaj Morgan really breaks out this year, which he very well may. But they want Samaj Morgan to be more than just a gadget player. They want him to be a crisper route runner, and he has to still develop into that. Tyler Morris is probably the best well-rounded receiver on the roster right now. And he's going to be your slot receiver, your Y, but we don't have a true X. So that's the problem. So Samaj is going to be your Z. We don't have a true X. They still got to identify that possibly in the portal. We'll see. And then that's kind of the concern right now is the offense is just not getting in rhythm and sync. It's still early, but those are the current concerns.
When you look at Alex Orji's evaluation, scouting report, and ranking coming out of high school,
Yep.
and then you see that he's thrown one pass in college.
Yes.
I'm trying to understand, and of course, I'm not there at practice watching him. Maybe he's shown that level of ability to compete for a job like at a Michigan. But when you put those two things together, the hope of him being a Michigan level quarterback, I'd like to know where that's coming from.
Yeah, so I guess the argument would be, so I just want to let you know, I hear you, and I feel very similar to you because I've not seen it myself outside of the spring game where he only threw 2 passes. But I remember when you were talking about Joe Milton a few years ago when all that hype was building, and you discussed his percentage in high school, his completion percentage. Well, the same thing for Orji; it's in the 50s, right? So very concerning. I guess the argument would be they've had 3 years of tape on him. They're familiar with him. They know what he can do. But we just got to hope he develops and becomes a fairly above 62% completion percentage quarterback. I don't know. I personally, Mark, I think we might be portal shopping for a quarterback. But they need to evaluate the kids and see, what they have.
Yeah, my thoughts on this are a little bit different. I believe that Alex Orji can complete a forward pass. So I believe in a real game. so I think that can happen. Can it be in the 60% range? I think it can happen if we keep the denominator low. So not that many passes. With some completion. I talked in a previous video. I talked about a 2 quarterback system. I don't believe it would be probable, but it would be possible if Alex Orji is different enough and the other quarterback is Denegal, let's say, who's a better passer. So that is an option. I don't think they're going to go portal shopping. I do think that there's hope that Alex Orji 2024 could be something like Jalen Milroe in 2023. But, I looked at the numbers with Milroe, and we have to give him a lot of credit. Milroe had a fantastic year passing last year, and that is going to be very hard to replicate. It's going to be hard to replicate JJ. It's also going to be hard to replicate Milroe for those of us who kind of think, hey, Alex Orji is just like Milroe. He can kind of take that role next year.
Yeah, you can blame me for making those comparisons, but I didn't make it like I'm making a prediction. Alex Orji is going to be Jalen Milroe. I was watching the Rose Bowl, and even before that, thinking, is this what Michigan's hoping for next year? Is that Alex Orji becomes Jalen Milroe? Because here you got this big Cam Newton body type. Yeah. And so, he can run and bowl over guys. He's got a strong enough arm. Jalen Milroe, the improvement from week 2 against Texas, 3 to 4 or 5 weeks later, it's not like he was hitting on 80% of his passes, but he was hitting on like deep shots, like with precision. And it's going to be important for this coaching staff. Of course, you guys know this better than I do, to if Alex Orji does emerge as the starting quarterback to do what he does best. And that's one thing that Bama figured out with Jalen Milroe. Okay, we're going to simplify the offense and basically make it, there's your read, and then you take off and run if that guy's not open. And that's what you're going to do.
Yeah. Related to that, quick question for TJ. Do you think Michigan is going to really cater their offense to the quality of players or the strengths of the players that we have? I do. I just wanted kind of your thoughts on that. We're not going to go back to the days of making a system and making the players kind of fit that system. I think we are going to be adaptable.
Yeah, I know that's already been confirmed, that they're going to, whatever quarterback wins the battle, they're going to, conform the offense to, adapt the offense to. And I think you might see what Mark was saying, that if the option isn't there, take it and run, because Orji can run and he can be a threat on the ground, obviously. Really, we need Orji to just be consistent and solid with the short to intermediate throws, and then occasionally give make a defense honest with a deep shot every now and then. I mean, that's probably the strategy. We do have Kirk Campbell as the quarterback coach and offensive coordinator now, so he is a bit of a mechanic guru. We saw the progression with JJ, where I guess they're hoping that they can fix him. I do have concerns like Mark, though. I'm very unsure about this. I'm nervous personally, but I hope it works out.
I am sitting here scanning the country, and I'll do this more formally, for what quarterback situation is out there where a very capable player could lose the quarterback battle and would be an upgrade for Michigan.
Yeah. And that's hopefully the route they go if they don't find the guy who can lead the offense. But rumors are right now, Mark, and I don't know if you can confirm this or if you have your ear to the ground, but quarterbacks are demanding like $1 million out of the portal, starting quarterbacks. So is Michigan now? All word is they have the funds, they can do it, but will they do it? Because we've not seen the high school. We've not seen Michigan be aggressive with the high school prospects with the NIL, only their own. So, we'll see if things change this portal.
Yeah, I see a message from or a chat from Ralph here talking about Julian saying would be very interesting. I'm going to kind of bring up the name Jack Tuttle because Sayin and Tuttle are both from Southern California, from neighboring towns right next to each other. It'd be kind of cool if they played in the game. What I'll say is that Jack Tuttle offers a floor that's higher than people who are really doom and gloom. He was a 4-star recruit. He's been around for 7 years. He might go ahead and just beat Ohio State and go straight into collecting Social Security checks or something. So at least we have that. We have a floor, and it's possible that Jack Tuttle could actually compete for the job in the fall as well. Maybe there's some approach where, hey, you know what, Texas is too early in the year. Let's not do anything crazy. Let's just let the experienced Jack Tuttle handle that, and then we'll figure out the quarterback situation for the rest of the year after that.
To play devil's advocate, though, because, I've heard the Jack Tuttle argument, but what has Jack Tuttle done at Indiana to give people the confidence? Because if you look at his numbers, he's barely hitting 60% completion. He's thrown for what? At most, I just had it up here.
400 yards.
423
in a season.
Yeah, with a 2 to 5 touchdown to interception ratio. I just don't have, I don't have the confidence there. Michigan is a blue blood program that just came off a national championship, right? We are a 3-time college football playoff team. We should have a higher talent level in the QB room. Now, I understand with Harbaugh's departure and the unknown, was JJ going to declare for the draft or not declare for the draft? We got screwed in this last portal, so that's understandable. And we had to deal with the Harbaugh dance, right? But if Michigan cannot put out a quarterback who is capable of running a Power 5 offense, that's a knock, and I don't think Jack Tuttle's the savior. I know people want to think he is because he's an upperclassman, but to me personally, I'm not confident with that path.
Yeah, I agree. He's not the savior. I'd look at him as more of the safety net. He's like the floor. We can do Jack Tuttle or better. Just curious on your thoughts on Jaden Davis, and if you think he has any chance of winning the job, or I heard within his own family they want him to be a red shirt. I don't know what you're hearing.
Yeah.
TJ, on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so he's actually been the name that's come up the most in spring camp. He's thrown some promising balls. He looks poised for a freshman, but the thing about Jaden Davis, and I'm high on Jaden Davis. There's some debate within the Michigan community. I just don't see Sharon Moore putting his first season on a freshman quarterback, especially when you face a team like Texas in week 2. That's a lot of pressure for a freshman. But hey, he might not have a choice either. Like maybe not week 2, but maybe week 6. If we don't have the quarterback situation figured out, he may go to Jaden Davis. Although I just have a hard time believing in Sharon Moore's first season, you see Jaden Davis, a true freshman, taking the lead for the Michigan Wolverine offense. I mean, that's the type of stuff that like a Trevor Lawrence does or a Jameson Winston. I mean, those are the elites, very rare.
Yeah. If we did run only like we did the second half of Penn State, I'm just hypothetically for a quarter or something.
Yeah.
Could you see us getting 5.5 yards versus a Texas or an Ohio State or something with the backs that we have in Orgy running?
To a certain point, but eventually they're going to load that box. I mean, eventually the defense is just going to be. I mean, I know we were able to pull it off against Penn State, but you also had Blake Corum running the ball with a JJ threat, right? So that's JJ keeps him honest. Now, if you have a quarterback who can't throw the damn ball like a Joe Milton was unable to do in 2020, does the defense? I don't know. I don't know if we could against the Texas. I mean, they did lose their defensive tackles though, right? So maybe Texas is vulnerable. I don't know their depth chart. I say it'd be tough. It would definitely wouldn't be easy. When teams sell out against the run, it gets hard. Now we are an extremely power run game, and we do have the running backs. I mean, that's the thing. So I didn't mention this in the spring update, but the running backs are looking good. Donovan Edwards is looking good. Khalil Mullins is looking good. Ben Hall, there's a lot of promise with Ben Hall, and a lot of people think he has the best vision on the team. So I don't know. I just don't know if we might not have the season we want if that's the path we have to go down, and it could be some frustrating games, which concern me. Low scoring, frustrating, like the Iowa game we had 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, and it was like 9-3. So we want to avoid that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the game they sacked Nate Stanley about 11 times.
Yeah.
In the big house.
Yeah, and we'll have the defense. I mean, we'll have the defense to do it. It's just, man, this quarterback situation has got to be solved. I mean, there's got to be a quarterback available. I can't. There's someone sitting on the bench, or there's someone at a group of 5 level who's capable. No question.
Well, Ohio State seems to have a half dozen 5-stars, so maybe one of those falls through there. So
seems fitting.
But I am more optimistic about the quarterback position. I think floor is Tuttle. I think Denegal is going to be a decent quarterback. It appears from what we know, and then Orgy has that upside of a Milroe. So I think between in the room, there's a way to make it work that. I'm more optimistic without going to the transfer portal. I think we should go elsewhere for the transfer portal, personally. So,
but the way you guys were, the way you guys were sizing up the Texas game, and I know this is worst case scenario.
Yeah,
it was like a situation that a team the caliber of Michigan should never be in unless there's been some ridiculous rash of injuries. You're down to your third quarterback and you're trying to protect him and you're trying to nurse him along and you're afraid to let him risk throwing the ball downfield Like, you don't want to go through a season like that,
Right.
trying to nurse every game through
Yeah.
17-10.
Yeah,
Right.
I think one of the challenges with Michigan schedule in 2024 versus 23 is that we just had this massive long preseason, for lack of a better term, until we had our tough games at the end of the year. This year, it's not anything like that. So yeah, I mean, it's there's got to be a plan for Texas. I believe that Michigan can beat Texas. I don't think that that's just a giveaway game. But I think you've got to make them think. That's why I was kind of proposing the idea that if there was a 2 quarterback system in the first game, then it's a big question mark on Texas. They have to prepare a little bit more. Maybe that can be used to a strategic advantage, and then you can play the hot hand in that game to try to win it. So I think Texas on paper is a better team than Michigan, but it is being played in Ann Arbor. And I do believe that Michigan should have a really good chance to win that game.
100%. Yeah, I think we can win it. It's just the unknown makes it hard to predict,